Annie, if that's okay, because Annie, you got some really specific predictions that that you think are going to be happening in 2023. Do you want to share that with us and let us?
My first prediction for 2023 is that Polygon and IMX will end the year as the undisputed two leaders in gaming blockchains, both in terms of projects and users, and that also Solana is going to drop out of the top 5 in both categories by the end of the year. So these aren't really hot takes from my side, just kind of based on what I see as far as developer movement, project movement in the space, where I see the chains headed at the moment. That's my prediction from a blockchain standpoint. Next up, in terms of gaming projects, I predict that at least one major Web2 game will launch a blockchain integrated game in 2023, a major gaming studio. My guess is, if I had to choose one, I would say probably Ubisoft is the most likely. But what we've seen over the past few years is a lot of these Web2 studios have moved from sort of the incubating, investing, subsidizing partnership phase of growth. I predict that at least one of them will try and take the step out into integration. Now, it won't be, I don't mean like a fully developed on-chain block game, but I mean, they'll launch one of their titles with NFT token integration this year. This is probably the one that I'm least confident about, but I would be surprised if we don't see one of the legacy studios, for whatever reason, decide to take that risk.
You might get a minor game from one of these major studios that I can see happening, but like a major IP, like seeing like a Call of Duty or seeing one of these major IPs integrate something like that, I don't think it's going to happen. Not this year.
2024. 2024.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that I see that with like a major title either. I'm just meaning that they will launch an actual product. Yeah. I think we're going to see some actually like go into the space and not just walk a little pilot out there and see how it goes. So
right, you mean dive straight
Fair
in.
enough.
Yeah.
Good. Next, I predict at least one Web3 game will have greater than 2 million daily active users from whatever game studio that would be, to the bull run and craziness of Axie and the other Wave 1 games in 2021.
I'm curious if that's actually going to happen.
In terms of tech, I think that a serious solution for user acquisition that uses wallet analytics and on-chain analytics for that user acquisition is going to emerge by the end of the year that will capture greater than a million users. And I think that's going to be a major turning point in the industry as well, is if you can save literally millions on user acquisition through using on-chain analytics, that changes a lot of calculations, both for legacy gaming studios and Web3 gaming studios.
100%.
I think by the end of this year, gaming is going to 10x its share of crypto to account for 3% of Web3. So right now, the gaming sector of Web3 is only 0.3% of the industry. And this is, again, we're the midpoint of January. Total market cap of crypto is $883 billion right now, give or take, probably a little bit higher today. I think we're going to see gaming move back to that 2.5-3% mark. Yeah, last one is, I would say, gaming adjacent. So I predict that OpenSea is going to drop in their market share to below 40%, which would be a pretty precipitous change. But I think it's because you're going to see a lot of these secondary chains and like specific industry specific chains like gaming that begin pulling more market share from them in their marketplaces, whether it's their custom marketplaces, there's new entrants that are going to be appearing and so forth.
I personally am not as bullish for this year as clearly you guys. My first prediction actually is I think that we're going to still see a lot of, I won't say downtrend, but a lot of like stagnation, just a lot of sideways action with the market, with interest, with engagement. And because of that, I think we're actually going to see a lot of the current Web3 content creators, potentially not the ones, I hope not the ones on that gaming creators of the year list. We're going to see a lot of creators get discouraged that the money signs aren't here anymore, and they're just going to fall off. But we've seen it happen before. During a downtrend like this. And I think we're going to see a new kind of cycle of creators. And I believe that the ones that stick through this and really kind of build that community, even in this bear, fine-tune their skills, or in the gym shooting those free throws, I think they're the ones that are really, really going to explode in the next run. My prediction is that we are going to see a lot of these Web3 creators disappear. A majority of people are in it for short-term money. Like, it just is what it is. I get it. People have bills to pay. They have food to put on their table. As soon as the money kind of dries up, like, it's difficult to make content consistently, to grow a community consistently when there's not that much engagement. That shit is difficult. That's my first prediction. So that's the bearish prediction that I have. Another one is we are going to see some major form of regulation being implemented in regards to crypto and DAOs this year. I think the FTX collapse really put regulators in a corner, being like, yo, you guys need to get your shit together. Something needs to happen. Whether it's positive, whether it's negative, I'm not too sure. But I think we're going to see some major form of regulation this year. I can't imagine after FTX that we have an entire 365 days without that happening. Like, that's fucking impossible. Annie, you wanted to say something, right?
Yeah, I'm curious, what region do you see
I'd say
likely leading that?
Okay, so this is the thing.
Jurisdictions.
Dubai is and the Middle East is very crypto positive. I think we're going to see a lot of positive regulation there. It's very clear, and it's not a misstatement to kind of say that culturally we do look to America for these big kind of things, right? The S&P 500 is obviously in America. Like, a lot of the financial action happens in America, and it does kind of set a standard for us globally. Whether we all agree, disagree, I think that there is something to be said for America standing there. Personally, this is where I'm unsure of the regulation in America, because I think what that does is going to set a precedent for the rest of the world and kind of be an example for the rest of the world. I'm thinking the regulation isn't going to be overly positive. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I think the whole FTX debacle kind of, like, sentiment is bad. Like, again, it just cements the idea that this shit is all a scam, and what the regulation is going to be. I think in Europe, in Africa, I personally don't see the major Web2 games launching a game. And again, I was leaning more towards major IPs. But what I think we will see is a couple of Web2 studios are going to announce interest in blockchain integration in 2023. So I think these major announcements are going to come in. I mean, we've seen things like Square Enix already. They're the guys that do Final Fantasy. They've already kind of said that blockchain is going to be a thing that they're going to move towards. So I'm kind of cheating with this prediction because it's somewhat already happening. I just see a lot of others. I think like Activision, and I'm not saying this, but I mean like large scale major studios like that are going to start making those announcements. I don't think it's going to be the majority. I think it's still going to be a minority, but I think we're going to start to see a bit of a transition, or at least I'm hoping, based on this prediction. Do you guys have anything to add on that one?
We agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty safe
I
one.
think that's reasonable. Yep.
My next prediction is actually that GameFi will continue to take the lead in Web3 adoption in 2023. The time of DeFi, bringing people into Web3 is somewhat kind of, I won't say over, but I think, again, GameFi is going to be the thing that brings people in. We saw that with Axie previously. That's going to be a trend that continues. And I can't see any kind of other use case that's going to bring everyone and say, all right, let's forget about the games. This is the real reason that we want to use Web3. I think GameFi is still going to be that number one spot that's going to keep bringing people into Web3. We will need other things for mass adoption. But I think in 2023, GameFi is going to be the thing that kind of brings people in, but it's not going to be enough. Like you say, like we have many other use cases in our life. We don't spend 24 hours of our day playing games. And the final one, we are going to see at least one meme coin that gets pumped to the level that we had Shiba Inu, Dogecoin, some cultural movement like that's going to get picked up by the mainstream media. Whether that leads us to the masses kind of saying, oh, look, it's a scam. There's another kind of bullshit thing going on. I don't know. But I can imagine we're going to have one kind of Pickle Rick, I don't know, fucking Groku, Smoku coin. I don't know what's going to happen. But I can imagine one coin is going to, like, the meme coin has no use case. It's going to pump for no reason, gaining mainstream media attention.